This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
Well, I bet you didn't expect this over the weekend as we're beginning another week here. The yogurt shop murders solved. So we're going to dig into this today. If you're unfamiliar with the case, we're going to familiarize you with it and the latest developments of what took place. Robin Dreek, retired FBI special agent, is going to join us in just a few moments. And we're going to go through what happened here and how we got to the place today and how there were 4 people, in addition to the 4 murdered children, whose lives were essentially destroyed and ruined in the last 34 years. After 34 years, the infamous yogurt shop murders in Austin are now officially solved. The answer came not from a new witness, not from a last-minute confession, but from science. Advanced DNA testing and genetic genealogy, IgG, as you've heard it talked about in so many cases. They've identified Robert Eugene Brashers as the killer. He was a traveling serial predator back in the 90s, already linked to other murders across the country. He died by suicide back in 1999. It took modern technology to finally close the circle on a case that had haunted Austin for decades. But the real story isn't just who did it, it's what happened along the way. 4 innocent young men were dragged through years of suspicion, false confessions, even wrongful convictions, even one ending up on death row because of interrogation tactics and tunnel vision that collapsed under the weight of better evidence. Families lived in limbo, reputations were destroyed, and trust in the system was shaken. So in this conversation, we're not retracing the crime. We're examining what the case teaches us. Robin Drake, let's start breaking this down and how modern DNA changed the game, why investigators once saw it so wrong, and how bad interview techniques create false confidence, and most importantly, what reforms can make sure another community doesn't wait 3 decades for the truth. This weekend, I was in my kitchen cooking. I was making pasta sauce, and you texted me going, "Hey, look, they caught him," and again, I was not expecting that, but again, IgG, it's that DNA. Everybody putting their stuff in the Ancestry and the 23andMe and all that. This led to another conviction. Are you surprised?
Yeah, I am surprised, but relieved and traumatized by it, gang, because when we looked at this a number of weeks ago, when you mentioned it to me, so we're watching a series on HBO Max, and it's like you said, it's rather long series. And I remember when I first pulled up the series to look at it, because this goes to that answer, as you know, I get these long narrative answers. The most striking thing to me were the cops involved in it back then, where they are now, and how destroyed their lives are now. I mean, you look at the one, these guys look like they're having a hard time recovering from living a very hard life. And I really think this case sent them down a path of that. A lot of pressure on them, on the community, to solve this crime because of the horrendous nature of it. It was so traumatic. 4 girls killed inside a yogurt shop. No leads, behavioral analysis, 0 there because all the things were burned up. So the behavior team came in and gave really nothing. And so then they go down this path of trying to make something happen. And thereby you get a really off interviewer, which is able to compel someone to confess to something, and people that the things they didn't do by interjecting false memories, new memories, trauma. I mean, all these things are at play here. And at the end, what happened? Like you said, DNA exonerated everyone, even though they were all exonerated after that, after some time in jail, on death row. And the families, this is just a path of destruction, because you had one serial killer that was transient. How do you catch that? I mean, it was just, this is the perfect storm of horrible that I've ever seen in such a long time.
And that's a good question. How do you catch that? And at some points, I mean, obviously, it's much easier to look back at this 30 years later and go, well, here's all the things you could have done differently. But in 1991, it was very different. Just as I'm sure they'll look back today, maybe at some point, and say, well, the way you're doing things, we found better ways to do them. At least I hope they do, because that's growth. But if we look back at that point in time, I think I want to walk all the way back to the techniques as to what they were using. They wanted to find somebody. The community wanted a villain. They wanted the monster that killed these girls, and of course they did. But there also needs to be the strength on the part of law enforcement, or there needed to be the strength on the part of law enforcement saying, if we don't have him, we don't have him. We can't make one up if it's not him. And I don't know when you look at it full picture that they were consciously trying to make someone up or to create the boogeyman, but they sure found a way of getting false confessions. And I want to dive into all of that. Before we even do that, I think it'd be good for everybody to to get a taste as to what these interrogations looked like, because I want to talk about all of that with you, how this interrogating people has changed, why they thought this was a good idea at one point in time, and where we are today. Todd, let's roll that the clip. This is about 3 minutes, and this is kind of a greatest hits, if you will, of some of the interrogations that were taking place back in the early 90s with those the suspects in the yogurt shop murders. Let's take a look.
We want the truth, and you know what the truth is. You're having trouble with the memories or flashbacks. You know what happened. You're scared to tell us. I don't blame you. It's a horrible thing what you saw in there.
Look, can I tell y'all what I keep seeing in my head?
Tell us what you see in your head.
I keep seeing these girls get shot.
Right. Tell us what that looks like. Tell us what you see specifically. How they're getting shot and who's shooting them. Come on, Mike, you're doing good. Tell us. Let's do this today. Let's do it.
Seeing girls, I remember seeing them down. I remember one girl screaming, terrified.
Okay.
I don't know if this is real or not, or if this is...
Michael, it's real. It's okay. You can present it to us any way you want, but it's real. Mike, look at me. You're remembering what happened because you were inside there, right? You're remembering what happened.
I don't honestly remember going in the building.
But you were in the building. You went in there with them. I don't believe that, Michael. You do remember going in there. And you know you were in there. Did you shoot any of those girls?
No, sir.
Then tell us what happened. What did those two boys do to those girls? You want to live with this the rest of your life?
No, I don't.
Then get it out right now. They're you over. They're the ones that shot the girls. Do it. What did you see happen?
At some point where he's handing his that revolver, what does he say to you?
Either shoot him or you're next.
That's what he said.
Because I didn't want to do it.
Right. Either shoot him or you're next. What do you remember hearing then?
I remember looking at this girl. I cry. I hear Robert saying, "Do it, do it." I hear the gun go off. I only pulled the trigger once. I turn around. Here's your stupid gun.
What happens next, Mike? That brought back some memories, didn't it?
I remember looking at the gun.
You ever seen that gun before?
I'm not positive.
Does that look like a gun you've seen before?
It looks like a gun I've seen before, but I'm not positive.
Is that the gun you shot somebody with, Mike?
I don't.
Is that the gun you walked up behind somebody with and shot in the head? Is that the one? Talk to me, Mike.
Yes.
You did that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
We've just opened some more doors, haven't we, Mike?
Not really.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
So that's some of the police interrogation techniques that were used back in 1999 on some of these kids. Robin, what's your reaction when you see how that went down? What are you seeing?
So it's interesting. I've seen those tactics before pretty frequently, actually, because there's a lot of leading questions. I mean, you're an interviewer, you know that. There's a lot of leading questions there. And there's a lot of presumed knowledge on the behalf of the cops But here's where, as I was really thinking about this as I'm watching this, because what they're doing is not necessarily off of what they've been trained to do and what you do when you're getting confession. But here's where there's a huge disconnect, a massive disconnect. You typically use that very confrontational way after you have, and you've used what's called rationalizations, projections, and minimizers, RPMs. You help them rationalize their behavior. You project the blame onto others, like you're a victim of the circumstance around you, and minimize it. Hey, you only killed 2 girls. It could have been much worse. You could have killed 5. 4 girls. See what I mean? Yeah. So those are the things you do to try to help them walk up to the cliff, as they say, before pushing you over. Because pushing them over that psychological cliff is doing what he's doing right there, where you're very accusatory. You're trying to nail down timelines. But here's where the massive flaw in this is. You only do that when you are actually sure and 100% confident on the things you're saying. Mm-hmm. In other words, you have evidence that they actually did do this. You can actually walk them through the timeline that you've established, and they're now going to admit to what you've already know that had happened. Mm-hmm. That is typically the way it's done. So what they did was they took a wild-ass guess that they're the ones that did it and how it was and how it happened, and they're now placing it onto them. And the way our memories work, and they did a great job in the series, describe our memories work in packets. Mm-hmm. And what they're doing is he's superimposing events. And when you hear something in the news and you hear it on TV or you hear it somewhere else, when you get a time separation from it, you can't remember whether I lived it or didn't. I mean, we do this all the time. I think if you're a visual person in particular, if you read a book and it was a really, really good book and you tend to be visual, a lot of times you give it some time passage between the time you read the book and like a couple years away from the event, you have a hard time, if it's well written, to remember if you saw it as a movie or read it as a book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
So it's the same thing here. So these people are going to have known about the case, known about some circumstances of the case, and now this cop is telling them that they were part of it, and he's leading them down the path of creating the linkages. He was very effective at I've never seen a more effective way to get a false confession. But it was flawed because he didn't know it was them. And he's getting them, and he's placing false memories, doing linkages between these packets, and they're separated by time, as we've seen in many other cases. And it's a disaster.
I mean, it's very interesting to watch, and we go back to 1999. Was this being trained? I mean, was this what they were being trained to do? Were they doing the best they could? I guess is my question. At that moment in time, was this the way that they believed would be the most effective to getting an accurate confession out of people? And have we since learned differently since, or were they already behind the times and this is just how they were doing it back then here in Austin?
So the fact that I've seen this done says that it's not a wrong technique if you know that they've done the crime and you're trying. Granted, there's a lot of,
they're not using it correctly.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too. So the other thing that struck me about this was the fact that they're using a very empathetic methodology, meaning that they're relying on the fact that this person that they're interviewing and interrogating has empathy towards their victims, has empathy towards other human beings. They're playing on their emotional response to these things. And the problem here is if you have someone that just killed 4 people, they're most likely high psychopathy. They're not going to respond to those techniques. And so it's going to be very accusatory on here's the facts we have. So it's an emotional way to compel someone to admit something they didn't do. If you're dealing with someone who actually just murdered someone or is being accused of someone, and you actually have the facts and data, you're going to lead them down the path where they incriminate themselves more effectively, like saying, "Hey, listen, you say you didn't do it. All right, so help me understand this. Now you lay about a piece of evidence. Tell me this. All right, then tell me how come your fingerprint was on this. If this was what you say you were on this certain date and time, then how come I have this?" So that's where you kind of confront them with their lies once you got them over that edge. And so you're going through the process of facts and data with having them try to explain away through more elaborate lies. And that's when it all falls apart. And that's when you say, listen, we can do it an easy way and a hard way, not for me, but for you. You know, here's what sentences are in typical cases like this. You're looking at life, you're looking at death, or we can make myself an advocate for you and bring some resolution to these families if that's something that means something to you. But if you want to just fry, we can go that way. So you tell me what path you want to go down. And so that's when you kind of lead them up to the edge. Here's what I got. I got more. We can keep going down where there's inconsistency between what you say and what evidence I have, or you can just share with me your story, get your story out there, because what really matters is not what I think. What matters is what happened according to you. So let's do this together. So that's see how I did that? It's a lot different than saying, bop, 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 bop.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're using facts and data.
I have a question, Robin, and I don't want to derail the conversation in any way, but this is going to get a little personal. As a parent, have you used these tactics on your kids? Because as teens, they push things. So I'm curious because I'm sitting here and thinking back to times when I did something naughty as a teen and my mom knew I did it.
Right.
And I was being led down that path. Like she knows, I can tell she knows, and she's heading in that direction. Did you ever use these immense skills of interrogation on your kids?
So I rule
come on, other people have to be asking this too.
Robin has a little room in his house with just a light hanging from it and a table. And his kids, it's like, it's time to come into the daddy room. We got to talk.
So there's a philosophy of life that I live when I was working and in everything I do. And that is, how do you inspire someone to tell the truth before they have an opportunity to lie? And so that's what elicitation is. And so you can leak out, hey, here's some facts and data. I know you, and I know you really well. I know you don't want to do something that's going to hurt you, and definitely don't want to hurt our relationship. Here's a great opportunity, without judgment, of helping me understand, because you normally make a lot of really great, healthy decisions. This looks like a situation that might have deviated from that. Help me understand what led you up to make this choice and decision, so we can kind of work on this together if that's something you're comfortable with. So that's how I typically engage. But when my kids were really young, here's what I did. It was the most effective thing ever. I told my kids, I said, hey, dad works for the FBI and I'm a behavior guy. And here's a special technique I have. I can tell if someone's been lying or not if they stick out their tongue. And I'd say to my kids, I said, Kevin, let me see your tongue. And if you went like this, I said, aha, you're going to lie. I said, don't lie to me, Kevin. I can tell.
I like it.
I love that. Thank you for answering that. Because the entire time I'm like, I can't imagine using these skills in your real life. Not that you'd have to, but you know, who took the last cookie and the kids got crumbs on their mouth going, I didn't do it. You've got skills, man. So
it's about never judging the choices they make. And that's what I did in my job. And it's what I do in life. I do that in everything with each other. I mean, it's like understanding the context, walk a mile in someone else's shoes to see what decisions you would make. And so what I did with my kids and I do with everyone is help me understand, walk me in your shoes and I'll take mine off to put yours on and let's go down this path together. And then once I start understanding without judging the choices you made, then we can start making some choices together on the best path forward. And I can play forward from my experience for you, the cause and effect of your actions that you took, and we can try to mitigate them together the best way we can possibly can. Now, granted, that methodology I just laid out for how we inspire someone to share information, it might not be in their best interest to share. That's what I call confession. Works with people that are empathetic, that are not super outside of parameters of normal behavior. This works with people that was a crime of passion, that was a moment of losing control and they generally have a slightly more abilities for regulation. So here's what that wouldn't work with. Koberger, pure psychopath. Those words mean nothing. They roll right off. The only thing that works with someone that's edging up more on psychopathy is that grandiosity. Is like, listen, kind of like Olivia Consalvis did with him. It's like, you kind of suck. Matter of fact, you just don't kind of suck. You definitely suck. You're the worst thing I ever saw. You said you wanted to be this great individual. I'll tell you what, you got one opportunity to kind of prove to me that you are as great as you think you are. Tell me how you're better than, and then you rattle off all the people he idolized. And if you can't do it, then you know what? You're just another punk and you sucked at everything you did.
Yeah.
A wholly different tactic because that's the only thing that resonates with psychopathy is grandiosity. And so they're and so I give it to the cops. Maybe, I don't know if they thought this hard about it. They're dealing with the people they were interviewing. These were not psychopaths. They were using an empathetic approach to interviewing and interrogating, But if someone killed 4 kids, it wouldn't match. See what I mean? There's an incongruence between who they're talking to and the methodology and techniques. But so now to get to the original question, training. There's not a lot of training. You think that, people that are in law enforcement go through the most advanced training and techniques there are in the world, but really the best training there is you're introduced to a baseline of how to talk to a human being, whether it's a read technique for interviewing. And we talked at length about this in the last couple of weeks, a Socratic method about, how to interview someone by asking a lot of questions, discovery questions, as we call. But the only way you really get good at it is doing it a lot, then reflecting on what was what wasn't effective, what was more effective, doing it with a partner so the partner can debrief you as well. Because when you're going to be a really good interviewer and a really good interrogator and getting someone to inspire them to share something that's not in their best interest, the last thing you do is show them their shame. And the first thing you do is you have to be able to meet them where they are at their tempo, at their thing. And then you have to be able to match it to your own personality, your own delivery style about how you present yourself as very individualistic. You only get good at it when you do it. How does someone become a master? Was it 10,000 hours, 10,000 reps? And so to throw someone in there and they've only done something. So here's the other thing too. If you've only done something one way your entire career, the likelihood of your flexibility to do it another way is slim to none. If you've only done this type of interview and interrogation once or if never in your career, what's the likelihood you're going to be good at it? Slim to none. So all those things play in. I'm sorry, long answer as always.
No, I think one of the biggest questions that people have about false confessions, especially when it comes to something like this, is how does someone give it? Michael Scott gave it. You had not Michael Scott from The Office. Literally, the guy's name was Michael Scott. And then he was pressured into giving up Robert Springsteen, that he was part of it, and then the two of them were convicted together, all on things that never took place.
I know.
But he was convinced, or I mean, tell me, was he convinced when they were going through this process? Was Michael Scott literally believing that he did not remember these things and they were coming back to him in this police interrogation? Or was it as simple as the explanations that are thrown out there? Well, they were tired, they were exhausted, they just wanted to get out of there. I don't know that I would, again, I've never been in this situation, but I don't know that I would ever be confessing to a murder just to get away from more questions. You look at like the Richard Allen interview, he never ever confessed to it until he was literally, mentally broken as a human being after more than a year of being sitting in a solitary confinement chamber being tortured. These are kids in a police interrogation for quite some time. I mean, many, many hours, but that's quite a thing to give up and quite a thing to say. Keep in mind, it's a young mind too. These are teenagers at this moment. Yeah. So, a little, I guess, more meldable, but I guess that's the big question. My long question is, why? Why did they, or how and why did they ever get to the point of saying that they did this if they didn't do it? And clearly they didn't do it. Right. So how did they get there?
So I had to do a lot of research on this too, because I don't deal in the world where you get a lot of false confessions. And we saw it with the Richard Allen case, and he was very clearly, to me, the isolation aspect, and that goes to the stress and exhaustion. Totally, that plays into it. So like you're saying, the teenagers here, not necessarily in that realm. I think the playing on the guilt most likely was an aspect of this. Again, this is wholly guessing because we don't know. As I've tried to do a deeper research on these 4 individuals in life, the life afterwards, and they're wrecked people. And I think they might have been going down a path back then of that as well, because one of the things that makes you more susceptible is, I think, age, because before the prefrontal lobe's fully formed up to like 23, 24, your impressibility is very, very high. And when you have a person, an authority figure, impressing on you what happened and from their context, and they're explaining away your memory issues. I've seen this before with counselors. I've known counselors that were dealing with people's trauma, telling them that one of the reasons they have trauma is because they have an issue with their mother, because their mother must have sexually abused them growing up. And I've seen counselors tell people that you don't remember it because it's so traumatic. And so now this person now believes they were sexually abused by their mother. Completely fiction. Because, and that's what this guy is doing here. He's taking memory gaps, or not even memory gaps, a lack of a memory, and explaining it away to them in a position of authority, so that now it becomes a new memory. He's taken a small segment of, you've seen a gun, you've seen this gun before, but you've seen a gun like this. Well, you've seen a gun like this, it must have been this gun. So he's leading them down the path of creating a new memory. It's
does the interviewer know that that's what he's doing at that moment in time in this case? I mean, I get, like, if you were to use this for nefarious purposes and look back on it going, oh, well, here's how you could elicit that. But I'm wondering, at the point in time, these investigators, these interviewers that are doing this, obviously they want to get to the bottom of this. But I can't in my heart believe that they're trying to make these kids make things up. I think they genuinely think they're getting legitimate answers.
Yeah. So their methodology of hunting for someone back then, especially, I mean, think about this now. The likelihood of something like this happening now is so much less, because what they didn't have in this investigation was Ring cameras. They didn't have cell phones to triangulate and be able to say how many people are actually in that shop that night, be able to get cell phone data. There's DNA. There's so many things that they didn't have. All they had was interviews, and their only methodology they had in this small town was who looks odd. Really, that's what that did. They brought in people that looked odd, that didn't fit that norm of behavior, what they thought normal, healthy people would do. So they only interviewed people that were unhealthy people and people that stood out from a norm. And so that became, it must be one of them. And so if we started getting a little inkling of what we think it is, in other words, they did really, really no science of profiling, because the profilers didn't give anything on this, because they said all the evidence was destroyed because of the fire. So they're coming up with their own conjecture on who they thought it was. It must be someone odd. So they created a filter of only odd people, and only odd people. So let's think about this. Odd people, when you're looking at a societal norm for a region, there's going to be some, I'm not saying mental health issues, but there's going to be some issues of not feeling like you fit in, not feeling connected, and maybe mental issues as well. And so their brains might be a little more susceptible. So this guy's all playing on this. Now, do I think he's sitting there and saying, I'm going to get a false confession? No. But he's going to grab on to what he thinks is someone's got leakage on the fact that they did it. And his only use and his only evidence is the fact that they're different from this societal norm in our culture right here.
And this is 1991. This is Austin, Texas. This is, I mean, and I will say, if you weren't alive in 1991, odd folks stood out more. I don't know another way to say it. Odd stood out. Now we live in a culture where everybody can kind of be who they are. I mean, in many ways, far more than they could in 1991. I'll put it that way.
And you wouldn't give it a second glance.
Yes. And so you have a lot of folks where it's like, well, this is odd, because everybody's kind of in their own smaller tribes, I would say, than they were in 1991. So the kids from the wrong side of the tracks that look a little spooky did stand out a bit more, than they, I guess, would have today. So it was easier to point the finger and go, well, you look different, so you're spooky. You must have something nefarious going on because you listen to the hard rock and you wear the heavy metal T-shirts. It was satanic panic time. All that stuff was going on. So a very understanding the mindset, it was very different back then as well. But of course, like, not everybody who looks a little different is out for nefarious intent. In fact, most of the time they're not. So it was a very different place in time than what we have today in terms of folks like that standing out. And then I guess, also preconceived notions on, well, they must be up to no good. I would imagine that all played into this as well.
You look different. We're a very judgy society at that time, and 4 girls are dead. It must be you. And I just gotta figure out how to get you to confess to it.
And let me ask you this: how confusing is it for an investigator when you do get the false confession? When you're, I mean, they weren't very versed in psychology at all on how any of this worked. They were there to get them to say the words, "I did it."
Right.
And when they eventually do get someone saying, "I did it," if you think that you got it through legitimate means and you're completely unaware that it's not, you're going to Why would this person say this if it's not true? Maybe I did find the person, even though I kind of led them down this road. Then you have that in the back of your mind going, well, I did get them to say it. So why would they say it? I wouldn't say it if I was doing it. Then you get that, their own storyline trying to play against someone else's storyline of confessing or not confessing. So it's confusion all around, I think, for a lot of people, including the investigators.
So they all got caught up in the culture of wanting to solve this and not being investigators, not exploring all the inconsistencies. Because every time you have an inconsistency, that's something you need to explore. Mm-hmm. And so what typically happens in cases like this, in any case, is all right. So you're willing to confess. All right, now you got to write it out. Mm-hmm. And the first time they try to write out their confession, and you then have everyone that they say was involved write out their confession, isolated from each other, all of them are going to be different.
Yeah.
Because it's not a real memory. And so right there, as an investigator, as a prosecutor, all right, so say you're an investigator. Investigators are really at the granular level. They're very close to the case. They have their own confirmation biases, and that's why we have co-case agents. That's why we have supervisors. And more importantly, that's why we have prosecutors that know what's going to be admissible in court and what it's going to look like to a jury. And when you actually have confessions, all right, we got confessions, and you have 4 of them that are like a shotgun spread, that as a prosecutor saying, yeah, we need to go back and look at this some more. But this wasn't happening because then you have the societal pressure to solve the case. You have crying parents. You have a community that's afraid that there's a killer still out there. You have all the external factors that are driving this, which makes it the perfect storm. And all because this guy, from what I think, in this time period, was uncatchable. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the stats of unresolved crimes and murders, it's just be another one. There's, what is it? Like, I looked up all these stats. You know, I do. It's like 3,000 or 4,000 murders a year are unsolved. Yeah.
And there was no IgG back then. There was no
guy was. It's called a hybrid serial killer. You know, half planned, half impulsive, and he was transient, like you said. How the hell do you catch, because they kept looking. I mean, the fatal flaw in this was they're looking at, and it's not because they were fatally flawed, just because there's nothing else to do. They're looking at their own community. Mm-hmm. He wasn't there. He was in and out in a blink of an eye. This was a target of opportunity because how did this guy target people? From now that we know who it was, he targeted women that were isolated, that were standing alone. That was again. Predators don't go for hard targets. They don't, that's why they hit churches. That's why they hit females late at night, isolated in yogurt shops where no one is, strip malls that are about to close up. They don't go for the hard targets where everyone's going to see them. They go for the soft. And that's what this guy was doing. He's transient. He's moving across the Southeast and the South, and he's hitting what he's considering from his soft, easy targets. How do you catch that?
Especially at that point in time, the technology wasn't there to do it, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of unsolved murders that are still out there that are slowly coming to the surface because of IgG. I mean, look at the Golden State Killer and things of that nature that were all caught, using that sort of technology.
Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. If it hadn't been for the brother recognizing the handwriting, the Unabomber, which, well, he'd probably be dead by now anyway. But I mean, the path of destruction would continue because there's someone actually was able to hide, and because he didn't do it for ego. Well, I'm sorry, we'll get on a whole different thing. He knew how to hide is a better way to put it, because he was a planned and calculated individual that left no digital or any kind of forensic footprint. And how did he do it? He had to dive under rocks or live in a shack in a cabin in the middle of nowhere and have zero interaction with the outside world. That's the only way. Yeah.
And he didn't worry about, I got to turn my cell phone off. He didn't need the cell phone.
Nope,
he was doing it the real way of being out there. When investigators went into this and in these interrogations, it feels like they're going in, they're trying to crack the nut, essentially. Let's get to what we think we're going to get here. And let me ask you this. When you're going in to interrogate someone, when you're going in to try and find what what you want to, not necessarily you want to be the truth, but you're trying to get to the truth. I think that's a big difference there. To the truth or want to get to what you believe is the truth. You have to go in not necessarily knowing what the truth is if you don't truly know what this person is up to. How do you recognize when there's nothing to crack in that nut when you're sitting there and you're asking questions? Obviously, people can sit there and they're going to be difficult, and it can take a long time in interrogation to get it actual, results and actual answers. But at what point do you go and what sort of signs do you look for and say, this isn't our person? and what did they miss here in this with the four guys that they were going after for all of that time? What were they missing here in terms of the signs that they should have looked at and said, these aren't our guys?
It's hard to walk a mile in the shoes of the investigators at the time.
Yeah.
But the first question I asked in all the espionage investigations I always did was the first question you ask as an investigator is, what would compel this individual that I think might have done it to do it? And then in order to answer that question, you start looking at the behavior arc. So tell me where they grew up. Tell me about the home life. Tell me about the upbringing. Tell me about if they have healthy, happy relationships in their lives, or they don't have healthy, happy relationships in their life. The fact that these people were friends, well, that's a shot against them being the ones that did it, because it's kind of unusual. So I'm always looking at the behavior arc, because if all of a sudden, because we do this all the time, if these four individuals don't have a background and a history of escalating violence, anger, emotional instability, ability to self-regulate their emotions, all these things, if all four aren't escalating towards a moment of doing this type of violence, the likelihood of me going down a track and bringing them in to interrogate them in that way is slim to none. I can't imagine me doing it. But then again, I'm not I wasn't a homicide detective doing it, but I've done this so many times before where I would have these cases referred to me because again, I worked counterintelligence, so I'm the espionage guy. Every time a case got referred to me as a potential for espionage where they betrayed their country, and a lot of times they've done other heinous things, the first question I always asked was from the people around them in their lives. The first thing you do is you interview people. Tell me about them. And I'd always ask, my opening questions, tell me about what you think about the individual. Do you like them? And if they're in tears because, oh my God, he's such a good guy, I can't imagine he'd ever do this, likelihood of you having your guy goes down drastically. And if I have not just one person, but now multiple people tell me what a good person this is, and that, all these data points are telling me the likelihood of this being the person, probably not there. Because from all these people in your life thinking that you're a good, healthy person, and then you have four people having that same kind of reaction, that arc is not the arc that's going to spike out of, all right, I'm going to go kill four people right now, four girls. Mm-hmm. There's got to be a history. There's got to be something. And also, and if it's a community like this, you're going to be, because what they should have been doing too, that who knows if they were or weren't, you're looking for connection. Mm-hmm. It is, and I know this is one of the 5% of the cases out there, I think it's 5 or 10%, where there's not some sort of connection to either the yogurt place or the victims between the killer. Very, very rare. And so those are other things I'm looking at. So there's so many data points that should have been brought in and looked at and examined before they brought them into an interrogation room, an interview room, which always starts out as an interview before you bring them up to the ledge, before you make an accusatory statement. They accused hardcore right in there without any of those, with inconsistencies, all those are data points. It just didn't make sense to me.
Isn't there I'm trying to think back to when this all kind of began in my brain. Like I ask a question sometimes of people that talk about somebody who's really a good person. It's like, have you looked in their freezer to make sure there's not any severed heads? Because it always seems like it's somebody that you see those, reports on the news. Oh, they were always such a wonderful person. I can't imagine that they did this, but yet they did it. So how do you reconcile with what you just talked about? Because obviously you know what you're doing, but doesn't it always seem like it's the one person you would never suspect?
Sometimes gaps. So it's the people that generally say that are the neighbors next door that see you 5%, that you see their 5-second highlight reel. When they come out, they go to work in the morning, they come home at night. You might see them for snippets of time on the weekends. So what I'm looking for then is I'm looking for people that are actually close, that spend 90% of their time with them. What are they saying? What's their arc? And also, who are they? Because I also going to take in not just what they're saying about the individual. I want to see what they're saying about themselves as well. So I understand, hey, if you have a lot of unhealthy things going on your life, you're addicted to drugs, you're addicted to alcohol, you got a lot of trauma, and you've been abused in your entire life, and you're saying, Joe Schmuckatelli is a great guy. Well, now I can understand what that reference point is compared to you. So I need to understand who I'm interviewing, the depth of field of knowledge they have of the individual, the kind of relationships they typically have in their life, because that's giving me because this is a thing that you get through life reps, is that every time I'm looking at one individual, I'm trying to understand. In order to understand them, I'm not just talking to everyone around them. I have to understand everyone around them at the same level I'm understanding them, because I'm understanding the entire intricate network of everyone around them to understand them at a more deep level, because I have to give then kind of a reference point on the information I'm getting. Are they, in other words, if someone says someone's a good person, but they're actually unhealthy people themselves, unhealthy looks healthy to the other person. So I got to understand that. So it's not simple.
Joe Schmuckatelli is a good guy, by the way.
You like that, Joe Schmuckatelli?
I want to vouch for Joe Schmuckatelli.
Thank you, Robin.
Salt of the earth guy.
No, generally he is.
Obviously we look back on this now. I mean, we are looking at it back now going, well, these were really bad techniques that were being used. But is there anything out there today that says can't use those techniques? Are there any rules or standards I know I know the answer to this, but I don't know that the general public does. To say that you can't do these sort of tactics today, and are they still being used in certain places?
I think they are, again, because I've seen this used, and it can be effective if you actually know you have the guy that did it. But you don't. So the thing is, it's a very crude, crass way to go about it, because you're pitting yourself against the individual. I mean, in all situations, what you're trying to do is you're trying to become someone that this individual can rely upon to be your confessor. It's really, because that's what it comes down to. So think about this.
But would you? I don't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Would you use this tactic on someone, or these tactics on someone, if you don't know that they are the killer? If you don't have that piece of information, you're still trying to get to it.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. So that's a much simpler question that Robert can answer. No, you definitely wouldn't, because it serves no purpose. I mean, so here's the thing too. So say you think these people either did it or might be connected to someone who did it, because now you're doing that unhealthy profiling of people that they were doing back then to do this. The last thing you want to do is make an enemy or an adversary from the person that might be connected to the person that did it.
Yeah.
Because if now you make an ally and this person actually isn't the person that did it, wouldn't it be better than to leave them feeling better for having met you? So when they go back to their group, say, you know what? I didn't do it, but I kind of got an inkling who did do it. If you're going to maybe do something to get over this or do something, this cop is a good guy. Go talk to this cop. So what law enforcement always wants to do is also not just be the person that finds you, but also be the person you want to go to. Because again, you want to be the confessor. To Stacy's point earlier, with my own kids, I wanted to be the person they felt safe to talk to.
Yeah.
Even when something went sideways, because when someone feels safe to share with you, the only way they're going to share with you is if they know they can share. You're not going to necessarily agree with them, but you're going to help them work that problem together, because it was a moment of stupidity. And hey, people do stupid things. Let's do this together so we can move you through the stupid things. Because if we don't do it together, it's only going to get worse from here. And so that's where they also failed, because they didn't know they did it. And they're made an adversarial relationship. They got a false confession from 4 different people. I mean, what a recipe for stupid. I understand it, but it makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you have to walk back too. I mean, if you're still an active, law enforcement member, and then, well, it turns out that your tactics there led to a false confession. That's some pride that you have to kind of walk back to and go, well, maybe that didn't work out so well. And people aren't always the greatest at changing their ways of doing things or their tactics. But then that's where training comes in, and I think that's the shocking part of a lot of this. The reality is a lot of law enforcement doesn't have a lot of training, especially when you get to smaller departments and even larger departments too. I mean, can we speak to that? I mean, and why don't we? I mean, the training obviously in different sorts of law enforcement varies dramatically from the FBI to a local law enforcement. I mean, educate us on that a little bit, just how different it is and who we're relying on in a lot of these local jurisdictions to get to the bottom of the truth, and how many more tools do a lot of these people even have beyond just the average citizen?
So the first question that really needs to be answered on this one, and we've seen it, I mean, talking about the last 5-10 years of policing, the training costs money. Yeah, that's the easiest answer right there. Is training costs money, and so no money, no training. That's the number one challenge and problem to overcome. The next one is who trains you, because training doesn't. I mean, I got to, as you all know, I'm an avid reader of a lot of things.
Yes.
I have stacks and stacks of books that give me all the education I need, but education without practice doesn't go anywhere. You need the practice to give you the wisdom, and wisdom comes from reps, and reps should be accumulated when you have the education through the training, which gives you the baseline of where to start. But in order to make it yours, in order to be able to do these things, you need to partner with someone who is a senior teacher, mentor, and guide who has the reps, who can take that art form and take that paint by number that you just learned, and they can teach you how to make art that fits you. So the second problem is not just the funding for the training, but the lack of experience of any teachers, mentors, and guides that have the life reps of having done these things, who can sit with you and say, hey, why don't we take a break? Why don't we slow down? And you pull Robin, hey, come with me for a second. Hey, when you're doing this in there, it wasn't going anywhere, was it? And why was that? Well, you might not have done it. I mean, did you think about this? Did you do this? Do this? So let's go back in. Let's recalibrate ourselves. Let's re-engage and think about how we can inspire this person to want to share information with you rather than trying to convince them to do something that they don't think is in their best interest. That's what a teacher, mentor, and guide does. But if you don't have that, your force doesn't have that, because people are quitting, they're retiring, they're getting out because it's such an adverse environment, whatever the reasons are. You get situations like this where their only experience getting confessions was using this methodology. Perhaps they guessed right that they actually had someone that actually had committed the crime. They use the same methods and techniques to get this person confessed, and now they think, I'm God, this is the method that works, I'm going to use it this way again. And no one's there to refute them because no one else has that experience.
And then you get what you get.
You get what you get. Yeah. It is an art form.
It is, and with this being, I guess it's baffling to the general public, to civilians on some of this, because I think sometimes we have these ideas in our mind. Oh, this is how it works. This is what's going on behind the curtain, and it's safer and it's easier for us to sit there and go, oh, of course they're doing this behind the scenes. They got their stuff together, and it's even more disturbing when it turns out no, they don't.
Tony, here's the greatest analogy everyone can identify with. Tony, how long have you been doing interviewing?
A long time, decades.
Were you ever taught how to do a radio show and interview someone?
By watching. I don't think sat down and somebody said, here's how you interview someone.
Yeah, nobody did that.
No.
And so you didn't have training.
Nope.
You have reps. And so it shouldn't be a shock to anyone that, hey, it's the same thing in law enforcement. You don't go. I remember when I went through the FBI Academy, it's like, at the time, I think it's 6 or 9 months long. And you go through blocks of instruction for how to conduct an investigation, how to do an interview. We had our interviewing blocks. We had our firearms blocks. And I remember when you get to the field and you're going to start being an FBI agent and you're going to go out on your first interview. And I was 29 years old. And do you really think I learned something in the course of a couple months of training and probably about 8 or 16 hours of instruction in a classroom about how to interview someone, and I'm going to go from 0 to 100 to be the world's best interviewer? Or am I going to rely upon my 29 years of experience of being a human being first?
Mm-hmm.
What happens is we get training to give labels and meanings to behaviors we're already doing in our lives so we can recognize them as being effective or isn't effective. So we know what to enhance, and we know what to suppress, and we know what to add to ourselves. And so what we get through training is the ability to self-learn, self-master, because that gives us that baseline. And so if we don't have that in a couple months, in your experience, and most of our experience in life is we find a passion for what we do, and we get life reps in here so we can actually become very fluid. It becomes very natural part of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've said this to you numerous times, both on air and off, that I think you're one of the greatest interviewers because you are so fluid. I have no idea how you do it, because you have so many life reps and years and decades of doing just this. You flow with it. You move with it. When I do these news hits, on whether it's on Fox or News Nation or anywhere else, it's so easy for me to see who's got reps, mm-hmm. who doesn't have reps by how they're interviewing me, and it doesn't because they went to a great school and they went to a better school about how to interview someone. It's because they actually have the life reps. And most importantly, the ones that have the greatest humility to realize that they're constant students and always learning and getting better, those are the ones that are great at this. But if you start thinking that I got this, mm-hmm. like this guy, this cop, I'm not saying what he did or didn't do,
sure.
If he thinks, and I heard in one interview, he was labeled as a guy who could get a confession from anyone.
It's probably not a good reputation to have.
If you fall in love with your own legend, you're screwed.
Yeah. If you're the one that's getting confessions from everybody, not everybody has a confession to give.
Correct.
Right. And so that's how this works. And that's why I think we sometimes fall short on our expectations of law enforcement, because you think that there's some magic bullet that you're not getting. No, mm-hmm. Here's the magic bullet. They have an opportunity to interview a lot of people, more than the average citizen does. That's where they get their life reps. And that's, the life arc. I mean, think about this. Investigative reporters are another great one. I remember there was a person that wanted to come on my behavior team. They're an FBI agent. They'd been in the FBI only a couple of years. And typically you only had people on my behavior team. You need at least 5 to 10 years of experience first to be an agent, mm-hmm. even entertain bringing on a team. I'm interviewing this person to come on the team. And I said, so what'd you do before you came in the bureau? And they said, oh, I was an investigative reporter. I said, really? How many interviews did you actually do before you came in the bureau? And he goes, oh, I don't know. Let's see. I was an investigative reporter for 5 years. I interviewed 365 days a year because that was a job. You interviewed or you died. And I did typically 3 to 5 interviews a day. And I'm like saying, you're in. Think about that.
Yeah.
3 to 5 interviews a day, 365 days a year for 5 years. That's reps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're on.
I didn't realize there would be a math test during this, Robin. I just wanted.
And you know who that person was? Joe Schmuckatelli.
Yeah. Joe Schmuckatelli. Absolutely.
Joe Schmuckatelli.
I want to know if he exists.
Why is it? Why? I mean, does it just come down to money? I mean, again, we have so many problems in our country where it's like, and it's not funded, and that's why we do things the way, or why we do things the way we do, and they're not the most effective. Is this just another one of them? I mean, there's other countries that look at the way that we do interrogations and interviews and are horrified. Like their police forces are like, that's not how you get to the truth. Why do we never change anything? Why don't we have standards across the board of here's how we're going to do it? Is the answer simply cash? Sometimes.
That's why I say sometimes.
Yeah.
Also, some organizations value training, some don't. And so the organizations that don't value training typically have a problem with ego.
Yeah.
Because in order to say I need training, you have to say I don't have all the answers. I'm not perfect. I'm flawed. I can continue to learn more.
Which every organization should say that.
That word should.
Should, yes. Everything should always be like, let's get better. Nobody should be like, we're perfect. That if everything had that attitude, yeah. I mean, but you're asking an organization to have organizations can't have an attitude. It's the people within the organization that have the attitude.
Culture.
Exactly. I was going to say that. Yep. We've been in some cultures where they think they're perfect. Yeah. And you just look around and go, oh my God, you are the most flawed I've ever seen. So
I think it was Simon Sinek, and he wrote it in Leaders Eat Last, which is based on Marine Corps motto. I think it was his book that that said, the greatest organizations are the ones that invest in failure.
Yeah.
In other words, you make it part of your calculation that you're going to learn, and learning is painful sometimes. And that because if you have because I know he did say this, organizations and institutions that have a zero defect mentality will fail.
Yep.
Because if you live by fear, you're never going to innovate. You're never going to get better because you're chasing numbers and stats to substantiate your existence to a bean counter that's only looking at beans and not actually the substance of what you're doing. And so, because that's a way to try to say, hey, I'm an artist, when all you're doing is painting by number. I keep using that reference, but this is an art form. But you can be taught how to become an artist.
Mm-hmm.
In order to do that, you need to be mentored under a master. And a master is someone that doesn't have the end state. The master is someone who learns and that knows, I'm a constant student. As I've said before, matter of fact, my son's texting me now because he just finished a flight. And I just got to read you, here's the language of a true student. So
your son know you're reading text live on the air?
No, but all he said was, holy crap, did they know how to break shit? Something to, because he's flying in a simulator today, and so he said today, the philosophy of what he does is learning has occurred.
That's beautiful.
We're going to constantly break shit on you because learning, that's the only way you're going to learn math. He said to me this morning, he goes, he said, the problem with all this learning is that I don't know how to land a plane normally from a simulator. All I know how to do is land it when it's on fire and no landing gear.
I'll take that.
Yeah, right.
The landing gears failed. The system's been blown up. The battery's failing and the wings are on fire. That's the only time I know how to land a plane.
Love it. But that's how people learn. And that's what you just talked about. People learn when they make mistakes, as long as you're, gently and kindly escorted through the problem and you figure it out and you do better next time.
It reminds me, again, the book I'm reading right now. I'm sorry, Tori. I'm reading, you get a kick. I'm reading Bruce Lee's, actually by Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's book, Be Water, My Friend.
Yes.
Yeah. You're not going to beat the answer out of somebody. You're not going to get the solution by that.
You'll get an answer.
You'll get an answer.
It won't be a right one. It won't be a truthful one. It won't be one full of veracity. Yeah. It'll be a compelled one, and compelled answers are never one. So I always look at this. I always worked with confidential human sources and people that volunteered wanted to cooperate with me, because I always said I'd rather work with 5 to 7 confidential human sources give me 120% of their effort willingly than 100 sources give me 5% of their effort reluctantly. Because then I got to verify every single thing comes out of their mouth, which causes more work than if I inspired someone to want to share with me rather than convincing someone. And so the same thing when you're doing an interview, trying to inspire a confession, do it in such a way that you don't have to spend another 5 weeks verifying all the inconsistencies with what they said, with what as a fact on the ground, and even more so, not just with the facts and data that is the case because you didn't give leading questions because you knew the answers. Now you have to verify it against the 3 other people that confessed, which are all over the place. I mean, I don't know how a prosecutor took any of this. It just makes no sense. Well, it does because of the time, the situation, pressure, and all these things, but.
It was a mess that didn't need to happen. And hindsight is 20/20. But the good thing is, at the end of the day, those families can have whatever version of closure you can call it when your daughters are murdered and you find out who it is. I don't know if that's closure, but it's an answer. And those surviving of the 3 of the 4 that are still alive, their names can be strongly removed from, well, maybe you did do it. There will still always be horrible people out there that are not up on what's going on and still want to blame. But at the end of the day, I think this is about as close as justice as we're going to get in this case for the killer who is dead from 1999. It's a horrible case. Yogurt Shop Murders. There we go. Robin Drake, retired FBI special agent, former chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program. As always, thank you for coming on and giving us your insight in all this.
That's a good one, guys. Great chat, as always.
Thank you.
Let's move on to another interesting one, another interesting confession that actually came out on live television just last week. Here's the situation, because if you're just tuning in, this is one of those stories that doesn't really sound real at first. Earlier last week, police and federal agents showed up at a quiet little home on Crestwood Court in Albany. They were there on a financial crimes warrant. Nothing violent, just suspicions about Social Security payments. Still going to an elderly couple no one had seen in years. Neighbors were told they'd moved to Germany. Plausible, until they weren't. Fast forward a day, and crews are digging in the backyard. And by Wednesday, they uncover one set of human remains. Thursday morning, a second set. And then, this is where it turns. Their son, Lorenz Kraus, walked into the local CBS 6 station, sits down for a full-on camera interview, and calmly confesses to killing both of his parents back in 2017. This is after the bodies had been discovered. He knew. He told them, and as soon as the camera stopped rolling, police arrested him right there in the station parking lot. He's now charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of concealment of a corpse, but he's pleading not guilty. And what you're about to see is the unedited interview that set all of this off. A man calmly detailing how he allegedly ended his parents' lives, buried them behind the house, and then lived off their benefits for years. We're going to play the full thing. It's not graphic, but it's deeply unsettling, and we'll talk about it as we go through all of this. What's interesting about all this, it's not necessarily a case where it appears to just be financially motivated. This seems to be what he believes to be Kevorkian-like, mercy killing. Now, you can have your opinions on that, and I understand that. But is this that? Is the story that he's trying to tell, the story that I think a lot of us think he believes, is it truly a mercy killing? Did he do it for the right reasons? Or was he deciding to play God? You guys got a chance to check this out a little bit before we jump into the video. Just initial thoughts on this guy.
I think there's a lot of mental insufficiency here. And I just put into Claude, let's do a comparison between Norman Bates and this man. Both involve parental murder. Both involve concealment. Kraus describes them as mercy killings, claiming my concern is for their misery. That was paramount to him. A bit of twisted logic, but there are some differences. That Norman's psychology, it says, centers on fractured identity and assuming his mother's persona. So obviously it goes a little further down the rabbit hole, but that was the first thing I thought of was
he didn't show up to the TV station dressed as mother.
Correct. Exactly. But I felt some parallels as I was watching the interview that, wow, Norman.
There's there's vibes. Would this be a guy you'd go out and have a coffee with?
Here's the thing. I was thinking.
Please don't say you find him attractive.
No, God, no.
Okay, just double checking on that.
No, but as somebody who is recently single, thinking about getting into the dating pool and getting on apps, these people are out there. You know, so you might sit down and have coffee with them, but 3 sips into your latte, get the fuck out.
I wonder how that story would go. I wonder how if it would be told in the, because I'm guessing the financial pieces wouldn't be in there. I could see it being told, my parents, they were elderly, and they entrusted me to help them pass on. And I'm going to guess it might be how it was spun. There's a lot of ways one could, I'm sure, try and spin this and justify it in his mind. Clearly, this happened in 2017, so he's had a damn near a decade to try and justify this, which he's attempting to do in this television interview. We're going to start watching it. We'll kind of pause as we go through. It's a dandy. Let's start watching the interview with Mr. Kraus.
All right, Lars. Well, thanks for sitting down with us. We really appreciate it. We'll get to the statement, but first we want to talk about the more recent event, actually the prior events and now the more recent events. Take me back to the summer of 2017. What happened to your parents?
My mother wrote me a note, which the police must have now, describing her walking across Whitehall Road. I mean, not Whitehall, Wolf Road, and
she fell down on her face, and she had, when I saw her a week or so later, yellow and green, black and blue marks from this. And she wrote that down, and that was a situation that became a problem, because when elderly start to fall down, the time comes that they started, beginning of the end. And my father also had cataract surgery, and he lost his vision to double vision, so he couldn't be he couldn't drive. So they were losing that independence and so forth. And my mother had a brother who had Alzheimer's, and my father had a sister who had Alzheimer's. They were both in nursing homes. My mother had a second sister who also had Alzheimer's. And, they put you in a bed, they put catheters into you, they rip your teeth out to try to keep you,
Wait,
the whole
what?
9 yards. So
They
this
rip
is in
your
the back of my
teeth
mind.
out.
So you didn't want to see them deteriorate and go through.
They pull your teeth out?
Is this
he
a
talking
thing?
about like false teeth?
I don't know. I don't think they pull your teeth out.
No, they don't.
That doesn't
No.
seem right.
They
So-
pull your teeth out.
His view of reality is extremely skewed. I mean, obviously, getting into this case, but some things are flying out of his mouth that seem really odd at this point. There's some huge red flags about this guy that reality is not the same for him as it is for us.
No, go ahead, Todd.
So some of what he's saying is not untrue, meaning that, when elderly parents start falling down, that creates issues, blah, 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 Alzheimer's. I get all that. And I think before we did the show today, I said to you guys, there's a little part of me that feels for what he's going through, because I understand that.
Yep.
But to think that killing your parents is going to prevent them from having to deal with what it's like to go through the process of dying, a natural death, that's where he loses it right there for me. And this letter that he talks about that the cops have, and
she wrote it down. She wrote down she fell. So basically, he's qualifying the death of she fell and had some bruising. Okay, and his dad has cataracts. Let's kill him.
Those are not reasons to do euthanasia for a human. And there is medical aid in, medical aid in dying. It's called MAID.
Sure. Yeah.
And Canada does quite a bit. I wouldn't say quite a bit, but they do it more than we do in this country. But I've looked into it. There are some states where you can do it, but you need to have reasons. It isn't just, I've got cataracts now, time to go. It's not like that.
Well, yeah, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of documentation that mom and dad wanted him to asphyxiate them with a pillow either as their way out. But it feels like this guy is kind of catastrophizing things a bit in his life. He's seen the trauma. He's been traumatized, it sounds like, by his sister's dying. We're going to hear about that in a moment. And what she went through, it sounds like he had some other relatives. He's had unpleasant experiences in nursing facilities. Okay, sure. And it sounds like there's some cognitive distortion going on here of thinking, okay, well, because A and B mean this, then it must mean C. And mom and dad, this is, they're going to start ripping their teeth out and all these horrible things. So I better save them. I feel like there's like a savior complex going on here and kind of a God complex. But I don't know that he's aware of it. And let's keep watching and see where it goes.
Through that, did you?
I'll mention, the police know about my sister and having to see my sister die from cancer. I was 16, she was 14. Go through 9 months or so of, the agony of cancer.
So, did you kill your parents as a mercy killing to put them out of their misery?
You
can be honest with us.
I know. I'll leave that for the statement that I put on your website.
The statement doesn't mention that.
I know.
The statement does not mention that.
Right.
I want to hear from you.
Yeah.
What did you do to your parents?
I buried them in their property.
You buried them in the backyard of that house in Albany.
Right.
At what point did they become deceased?
I need to see a calendar to sometime August of 2017.
And did they die at your hand? That's the question.
Right. I'll have to leave it for that statement.
But that's not in the statement. And I think it's important for people to know what happened to your parents.
Right.
They were your parents. You loved them. They were deteriorating. What did you do?
I will.
Don't tell me you're going to leave it to the statement, because it's not in the statement.
I know.
What did you do to your parents?
My goal is for the American people to recognize that there's 40 million boomers. They're all going to go through the same kind of problem. It affects all of us, and we need to widen up the law so that people can deal with these kind of problems in a humane way, in a whatever way that people can deal with. And I did my duty to my parents.
So you ended their lives.
I won't.
You're saying that without actually saying that word. I want to hear you say that word. You ended their lives.
I have to
give them mercy, you're saying.
I have to plead my Fifth Amendment rights until I can disclose it with my statement there.
Did you have any concern that whatever you did was wrong?
I would never have done such a thing if I ever did it, knowing it's wrong.
So you believe what you did was right. You believe taking your parents' lives was the right thing to do for their sake.
If I did it, absolutely that.
But you did do it. You're saying to us that you did it.
There's a statement there that we'll deal with more later, if you want to know.
Lawrence, I appreciate that, and then talk about your statement, but show me where in the statement it says that you killed your parents. It doesn't. It doesn't talk about the fate of your parents here. You keep talking about the statement answering my question, but the statement does not answer my question. It's the question people want to know. And I think they need to hear it from you.
Yes, there's time for that.
And I think now's the time. Did you kill your parents to put them out of their misery?
My concern for their misery was paramount. It was a huge burden to have to face this coming up. This is a horrible situation.
Sure. So you alleviated that burden.
You're a good question. I have to protect my Fifth Amendment rights on this until the right time.
I'm not an attorney. I'm not an officer of the law. You don't have to say that to me.
Yes, but I mean, whatever I say here is going to be held against me elsewhere. Right?
Of course, but you probably answer to a higher authority anyway in the long run. So I think you can tell us what happened. Did you kill your parents together at the same time in the same place? What method did you use?
All that kind of stuff I would answer later with that deal with the American people. But I'm not going to speak about such.
So why
things
come
like
to
that.
a TV station?
But you have a chance to tell the American people right now.
Let's pause it for a second.
Yeah.
I want their.
So many theatrical things here, and this guy has a grandiose complex about himself.
I got that written right here.
Yep, that's the first thing that popped up in my head. Is this guy? He wants recognition. He knows he knows exactly what he's done. He knows what the consequences are. He's a very smart man, but he wants the attention. He's like a dog begging for a treat right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to go in there and say, "Hey, listen, I killed my parents, and because of these reasons," right? Why even show up?
Yeah.
What's the freaking point?
For the American people, because he uses the American people a lot. I mean, that's what I find interesting, and that's where I wrote down for the American people, grandiose. That was my note. I'm like, this guy's got a grandiose complex. Like he really. And then to deal with the problems, some of his terminology is rather interesting, and a huge burden to have to face this coming up.
Right. This isn't about them.
It's about him.
It's about him
having to face this huge burden coming up. It doesn't mean it was even upon him. It was coming up. So he was getting ahead of the game.
Hate to say this, but anybody who has parents who are aging, you're going to have to deal with this in your life.
Correct.
Jennifer, one of our viewers, Jennifer, had a couple of good things to say. She said, is he just trying to look crazy so he can plead the insanity plea? And also, this is he's not so impaired mentally that he doesn't know to use the Fifth Amendment.
Yeah. And there's a level of glee about this man, which I find rather odd to be, I'm here. But because I think I think he thinks he's being like an advocate. I think that that's where he's coming from. I think he's on this show thinking, I'm gonna tell my story and people are gonna understand. And the way he was talking, the American people for the American people to understand that there needs to be, the laws need to loosen up or something. He said earlier. No, I'm all okay with having more assisted ways of killing yourself if that's what you want to do when you're old or you're in a very unhealthy state, so you're not having to be a vegetable. But this ain't that, and it seems like he's trying to justify that he made the call here, and it was completely above board.
He's not wrong entirely about the problem that we have in this country with our boomers and what's going to be going through and how we're ill-equipped to deal with it. My soon-to-be ex's mom was in a nursing home dealing with dementia, and some of the things that we had to deal with her, and I don't mean anything bad toward her, but the facility that she was in that we were paying I think it was over $9,500 a month. It was subpar at times. So yeah, we do have a problem in this country, and maybe that's what he's alluding to, but his remedy is not the correct one.
There's always a little bit of reality, always a little bit of truth in something like this, where it makes you go, okay. And that's how then they pile their bullshit on top of that.
Correct.
And it's like, yeah, well, you can argue that over here, but this part you're trying to connect is not part of the same damn thing.
Right.
Let's
from a professional standpoint, since we're in broadcasting all of our lives, thoughts on the interviewer?
This not bad.
This is
he's going for the kill. He's going for the kill.
Yeah.
And it's like and weather after weather, he's going to expose. He's going to expose how one local fast food restaurant may be using pets instead of ground beef. That's after weather and your 7 day.
Do you think this is on his highlight reel if he decides to go to another?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
He's vying to go to the network. He wants to work for CBS News so bad.
Yeah.
He's your local investigative reporter that gets
Dude, he's the
mimicked in movies.
He's the one with the black light at the hotel looking at the comforter.
Coming up on 6 on Your Side, we go to the Motel 6 with a black light. I recognize that as semen over there. You want to know how I recognize that as semen? Because I did a black light in my bedroom last night.
Oh,
at least he's not doing some sort of taste testing. So
that's after sports.
They're going to do the A/B challenge to figure out what the bodily fluid is.
Look what I work with here, people.
Let's keep going.
All right.
Please.
Feedback on my statement. Then I can believe that I can tell the truth with uninhibited.
You don't think you're going to get better feedback if you're honest with them? And tell us what happened?
I put things in the right order that have to be in the right order. But it's very important that far as
exculpatory, I'm going to guess.
Exculpatory material, the police had that statement from my mother regarding what happened to her, crossing the street at Wolf Road, falling down, And she also had a problem with, she mentioned she was getting lines in her eyes for some reason. There was no, I don't know what that would be.
That was the prelude that helped set things in motion. You're saying that started your parents' downhill trend health-wise.
Yes, but also the letter from her to me said, "Do something," or this you need to know this in a way that
your parents asked you to kill them or to take their lives in a merciful fashion.
I think they want me to take responsibility for things.
They asked you to take their lives, to do what they couldn't do?
Implicitly, but not explicitly.
So you were just granting their wishes?
My mother, after my sister died, my mother would give me these do not resuscitate things every few months. If you wanted to die, given her grief for my sister, her daughter.
And you love your parents and you wanted to honor their wishes.
you know, there's something special about our family that we can somehow read each other's minds. Being things explicit isn't necessarily.
Oh.
You know, I could complete my grandmother's sentences for her, and she would say, "Well, no." So, I mean,
which?
I could complete my grandmother's sentences.
The context of all this became to bear on me.
Did one parent, did your mom or your dad more so than the other, ask you to take their lives?
They didn't explicitly say that, but they made it clear that they were going downhill.
When it actually happened, when your parents died, did they know what was happening to them?
Oh, yeah.
And they knew it was at your hand?
But yes, no one else.
Right. So they realized what you were doing to them as it happened. They knew that this was it for them. They were perishing at your hand.
And it was so quick.
How did you do it?
Yeah, I can't talk about that.
Well, you've just told us that
right.
It was at your hand.
Right.
Were there drugs involved? Was there a suffocation? Was there? You suffocated them. You suffocated your parents.
Well, kinda.
Yeah.
That was the best way to take their lives, through suffocation.
Basically.
We should
Which
have
parent
Robin
did you
look at
suffocate
this
first?
interrogation and give us his thoughts on it.
My father. And
he's doing a pretty good
died.
job.
My mother put her head on his chest, and she was there for a few hours, and then I finished her.
I finished her.
Whoa.
Finish him.
It's
not Mortal Kombat.
No. I didn't know what to do after that. I was thinking what to do.
Oh.
And it took me several days to realize I can't do this, I can't do that. Just bury them on the property, and it was wide open sunlight. I remember my sister. She received either a gift of a lamb or a lamb was given to her upon her funeral, but that lamb showed up. I put it on my mother's grave.
What the fuck?
And the police must have that now too.
You call it a grave? You bury them in the backyard? You see it as a grave?
Well, I bury them, and I put thing around my mother's grave, and with
think it has taxidermy in the basement
next to her. And I put that there.
Human taxidermy.
What did you think as you were doing it? And as you were taking their lives? What was going through your head?
Not thoughts, action. Make sure it's
wonder
done.
if the McRib is back.
Not fool around, not make a mistake. But, you know, I'm sure the police are going to say, what an incompetent idiot I am on that.
Well,
but
now you're on a television station doing
you know,
this.
Did they both pass away peacefully? Did they struggle as you did it?
I would
lot
say
of gray area.
the last minute, no.
The last minute.
But they're
When they finally died.
The
you know,
first
I think my
five.
father died very quickly. Surprisingly quickly.
Surprisingly.
That shocked me.
Oh, wow.
This guy is the
And
poster child of really bad choices
know,
across the board, including doing this interview.
right.
What are you
With
doing?
my mother, that went quickly too.
Did you realize what you were doing, as righteous as you may have thought it was illegal? And
Oh yeah.
I remember
you knew you
growing
were
up in
breaking
this
the law.
house.
You
was
knew
like,
you were.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We have to squeeze the law to fit the humans, not us,
The law
the humans to
does
fit the
not
law. And
huh?
we have 40 million boomers. They're all going to suffer a horrible death, typically.
No, they're not.
Like what you just
My mother
did?
always. Somebody died in their home, she would say, great, the person died with their boots on, instead of going to a hospital and going through a meat processing factory kind of thing.
Jesus
So
Christ.
they were both children of World War II. My mother was born in 42.
I know sometimes my humor
She
is
was a
not good,
toddler.
but do you think he
Told
goes
me
to the
she
barber
would
and
follow
says,
funerals
make
behind
me
the
look
horse
like
and wagon.
Benjamin Franklin?
This is the kind of world she grew up in. My father was
Oh my
age
God.
12.
Going for the Ben look again.
Didn't say she can for 3
Sorry.
years. So they had very serious lives. Given the Globe, the genocidal British geopolitics, as I call it.
He's justifying this shit every way
So
he
they
can in
were-
his mind,
they
and it's
were
just spewing out, and
not,
it makes no sense.
Fooling around on things. They were serious people.
When you were doing this, did you think about the financial ramifications, the fact that you would continue to take their government money?
Once that happens, then what do?
You stop taking the money.
Yeah.
That's how he got caught.
I mean, the government is pissed because I took the Social Security money and gave it to people who are starving in the Philippines. Okay, then, be angry about that. But anything, the police know all the money that I have.
Did you really give it to the
people to help
Philippines?
them? Thousands of dollars. I gave almost, not all of it away because there was still a lot left.
Nope.
But I gave away. I didn't play with the money. I gave it away. I didn't enrich myself.
I adopted a pet after hearing Sarah McLachlan commercials in the middle of the night.
No, but this is not a kill for money case, is important to say.
Oh, well, that fixes everything. Thank
Right.
you.
It's just a kill for kill.
I was helping people before that just fine. So it didn't, the issue of taking my parents' money for other purposes related to that doesn't fit. That's why the police, they had a theory going with which we talked about
Is this Jamie Rake's
on
brother?
Tuesday.
Oh my God.
And they wanted to try to say that this was taking their money to give away to other people. But it was that the other part, the primary situation.
Someone called that blood money.
Right, and I was giving it away.
But it's still blood money.
Well,
Look, Robin Hood, still
to
illegal.
take somebody's money away, that's blood money. But if what was I supposed to do with this money?
Not take it?
Again, I couldn't tell anyone. The government needs to have an office where you can say, this is something that happened, and here's how it happens, and they need to have
You cash the checks. You didn't have to cash
deal with
the
these kind of
checks.
problems in an open way. Everything in this country is hidden away. And this is a societal crisis. Again, 40 million people are going to deal with this, and maybe, a multiple of that given their friends and family. So, I mean, it's a reality of human experience. I just wanted to say, in 2020, there was this YouTube channel called Tribe of the Fox, and they did a video called The Mannerbunde. And they explained how in the ancient times, they had men who would do this for the elderly.
Uh-oh.
So they wouldn't have to suffer. Of course, the ancient Greeks always believed in dying on the battlefield rather than dying, in a bag of bones, like a bag of bones. So, I mean, culturally, America is totally...
They didn't die on a battlefield, though. It sounds like they died in their beds with a pillow over their faces.
No, but you can put it that way.
I mean, it was a battlefield.
Well, right. It's not. I mean, the preference of people of the ancient Greeks was to die on the battlefield rather than die so infirm that you had nothing.
Was it a pillow that you used?
No.
What did you use to suffocate them?
My hands.
For my father, my hand.
Oh, God.
For my mother, a rope.
Oh,
Oh
what?
my God.
So you strangled her?
Yeah, that would seem better.
It was strangulation, not suffocation?
Well, it's the same. No, denial of oxygen.
Oh,
But also
Jesus.
blood circulation.
So you
Oh,
cut off the
God.
oxygen to both of them. That was your method.
Yeah.
Now that this has come to light and the police started investigating, do you have any regrets?
I did the right thing for them based on the situation. I did my duty to them as a son. And that's everything fell into place. I don't know how it happened that it all fell into place, but it did. And so no, I don't have. It's a horrible situation to be in.
You think?
One does one's duty and one is done. The issue of regrets, I can't say this. It's a regrettable experience, a regrettable situation. Of course, life is horrible. It has horrible moments in life. But that's that.
I just want to make sure I have it correct because I'm a journalist and facts are important. You used your hand, a single hand, to kill your father?
Right.
Putting it over his nose and you choked him. Okay.
Oh, God.
And you did the same with your mother, but with a rope. You choked her with...
No. Just a rope.
Right. I'm sorry. But I meant you choked her with a rope, though, instead of your hand.
Right.
Okay.
Let's pause it for a second.
Are you on any medications today?
That's a great question.
God.
That's the golden question right there. You should be.
This is why you can't let your kids live in your fucking basement.
Yeah.
Because this shit will happen.
He's going to find something on YouTube to justify exactly what he wants to do.
It sounds like he's got and look, a lot of us have OCD, but it sounds like he's got a little bit of OCD going on, the way he was talking about things being in their places and stuff earlier. I'm wondering if this is part of it. If this, his weird justification on thinking, well, they're going to die, so we might as well just do this and get them in their place. Now, he had to control the narrative of all this, and it sounds like this may have played a role in his way of thinking. Got to put them in the backyard. Got to put them in their place.
Plenty of sunshine. The lamb came. What the hell was that about?
The lamb. Yeah, that's weird. So I don't know. Was that like a reference to like a stuffed animal or something like that?
I don't know, or a statue, or if he's seeing things. The more he talks, obviously we're sitting here having a little bit of fun with this, but I feel so bad for his parents, the victims.
Yeah.
Even I truly believe that even if his mother wanted him to help her pass, I doubt it would be with a rope.
Right. But
well, yeah.
His reference to the lamb, think of the sacrificial lamb. He was sacrificing them. I mean, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, this guy really thinks that he's something special to these parents. He is the prodigal son.
The lamb came to him, and Lorenz Kraus is this guy's name. He's now charged with second-degree murder for killing his parents and then burying their bodies in the backyard. And we're watching what he confessed to live on television here in the conference room at CBS 6 in Albany last week. I'll give the interviewer some credit here. He certainly is getting this out of him. He's doing the work of police pretty well. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of question here. Do you think the cops said, "Hey, here's some things you should ask him"?
No.
Were
the cops? No, you don't think so?
This guy, from what it sounds like, he just showed up at the TV station.
Wow.
Can you imagine? I don't know what the interviewer guy's name is, and I'm not trying to denigrate. I want to call him Herb. He seems like a Herb.
He feels like a Herb.
It's like Herb Maxwell and the latest on the 6-team investigates. He's probably sitting at his cubicle, and then they're like, that Kraus guy, he's in the entry right now. He wants to talk to somebody. And then they said, well, the conference room is open. And then they grabbed a photographer and they ran in there and they did this. I mean, I can't imagine that he had a ton of time to prep.
No.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, do you call the cops and say, hey, this guy's here, blah, blah, blah? Or do you just do the interview and see what happens?
Well, they did.
Somebody called and said, hey.
They did, because the cops were in the lot. And they arrested him in the parking lot right after. Because I don't think this was live on the air. I think they recorded this and then let them know, hey, this is what's going on. But
Jennifer says that from what she read, he called other TV stations first, but decided to go there because he knew Herb was a fair interviewer. So,
well, I feel bad. It's probably not even Herb.
Probably not.
I don't know what his name is, but yeah. He got his short.
What his name is.
He came in dressed for the occasion too. He's got the shorts on. He's ready to leave the serious. Let's keep watching. I
need to know if he was on medication. Let's get the answer.
And that's where we're picking up here on this is he just asked, are you on any medications right now? Let's see.
No. Well, no.
Nothing? Is your mind clear? And
I'm just a little sleepy, and I'm trying to keep my eyes open, but that's okay.
Okay, but you have no mental disabilities that are affecting what you're saying here today?
Correct.
You're confident in what you said and clear of mind as you say all this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would appreciate. I hope that you could put this on YouTube, the whole thing.
I'm sure we'll put this on. And are you ready to face the consequences now with the police and the authorities?
Yes, but I would like the American people to also read my statement so that everybody can have something to appeal to on it. I know my statement is you know, I'm not really concerned about the police or the courts or anything. There's something much bigger in life, and we have to deal with the big things in life.
Okay. But again, just to be certain, in 2017, you took your father's life.
Correct.
And then moments later, or a short time later, you took your mother's life on that same day.
Right. But well, see, that's the thing. It was late at night, and it was like late evening on one day into early morning night.
So within hours of each other.
Right.
What did you do between the taking of your father's life and the taking of your mother's life?
Trying to remember, because there was.
I had a ham sandwich.
Yeah.
Kmart one.
I don't
Kmart
Did you
sub.
sit with your mother? Were the three of you together in one
Well,
room?
before they died, my father was here, my mother was here, and I told them what happened to me and my sister. And after she died, my sister died in the house too, because when she died from the cancer. But she died in May of 1988, and then in that fall was I was doing my 11th grade now then, and there was I had to do a paper in a big test, so I did an overnighter to do that test, and then tried to do a second overnighter to finish that paper or something, and I crawled into bed at like 2:45 in the morning, and sometime then after I popped out of my body, and I started floating up to the
Here
ceiling.
we go.
I saw the nooks and crannies.
Here we go.
I acknowledged that the nooks and crannies of the ceiling, and then the whole world disappeared, and I was in this big black void, and things was rushing by, and then I saw my sister in a doorway in profile. You know, after that, it was like a near-death experience kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told my parents about that experience. And I told them, go find Rosa. My sister's name was Rosa. And so my father just died quickly, so quickly.
God, his connect the
find
dots
Rosa.
are everywhere.
And, you know.
No, we don't know.
And then again, just take me through, after your mother died, how long was it before you buried them? Approximately.
2 or 3 days, actually.
So your parents' deceased bodies were in your house with you for 2 or 3 days. And then you decided you had to do something to cover up your crimes or to properly bury them and send them on their way?
Right. I mean, I needed to, basically, I had to bury them.
Was the burial to cover up your crime? You didn't want to be found out.
Right, of course. I mean, what to do?
What to do?
I have to go shopping today. That's what to do.
The thing to do just occurred to me. Oh, she can fit here and he can fit there. And then
Fit there.
just do it. It was done. And you know, that's that.
Have you lived with fear of being found out all these years?
I struggle to do other things with my life to try to make something great out of it. Because if that's what I know that they would not want me to rot away to death in prison for this.
Yeah.
I have a duty to everyone to make the best out of my life.
Your mom's wishing Plan B
the end,
existed
do what's
back
best
then.
for the people of Germany, really. I call it being a Volkshaver. It took me years to understand all this. But
What?
I learned a lot in the last eight years that I never knew before. And I self-educated in so many ways. So I did not, the issue of being caught is, I was able to buy time to solve huge problems. And that's worth it in many ways. To the American people, to me, and to them, to their legacy, to their,
Do you think people are going to accept this rationale
they probably won't.
and feel for you?
what they need to feel is for their own parents. They're going to face the same problems, and they're going to have to find solutions ahead of time, or else they're going to end up like me.
Here's
That's
what
reality.
not to do.
Are you telling other people that when their parents start ailing, they should take their lives?
They have a duty to their parents to bring them comfort
Well, yeah.
at the end of life when they believe
With a
they
rope.
need to.
But again, just to be clear, you took both your parents' lives.
Yes.
And you realize that you're probably going to face the criminal consequences.
Oh, of course.
I mean, you're probably going to be arrested,
Well,
charged, and
yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna. I mean, it's a process. You have to go through the process. How it will come out at the end, I don't know.
Oh,
But
we know.
To influence that process, I would beg the American people to read that statement.
all right. Lawrence, thank you for being with us.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Very much. Thank you.
And there's some
Good,
donuts
guys?
in the green room.
You good, Stella? I think we covered all the bases. You know, is there anything else you want to say?
What?
Your manifesto, what was
A statement to the American people. Is that what I wrote? That's what you wrote down?
I wrote statement to the public. Because you said that.
Yeah.
You said that to me.
Right. A statement to the public. What was the other option to call it?
Manifesto.
Not a manifesto.
Just a statement to the public. It is a bit rambling, a bit hard to follow.
Right. I need that's why I say I need more conversation over there.
But do you think people are going to want to talk about this or the fact that you took your parents' lives?
Right, they're going to talk about that. That's what they want to know. It's just reality. So I mean, they'll, it's a horrible situation, Pia. Many other people are going to face it. But
are other people going to take the same actions you took?
Probably not, because they don't have the same kind of sense of duty to their parents as I did.
Wow.
That's why we need state hospitals. Keep
duty
people like
is
this away from everyone else.
I owe it to you to do it, as opposed to right and wrong, the law, etc. These are different ways of being.
No.
And of course, the law in this country does not allow for this way of being.
But are you truly confident that's what your parents wanted?
I know my parents are harsh in certain situations. And if my mother could see where she was going, she would never want that.
But you said they didn't expressly ask to be killed.
Right.
Are you sure you did what they wanted to be done?
I think that they would have increasingly would have wanted me to help them if their situation got any worse.
So that day in what you think was August of 2017, what made that day the day?
I think it was a colder evening and the windows were closed.
Oh,
So we
God.
had
Lit a fire, turned on some Kenny G.
it was just no noise or something.
So you were safe from detection? Is that what you're
Of course. Because it was a summer, right? It's usually hot and windows are open, but it was kind of cold that period.
So because it was a little chillier that night, you decided to take your parents' lives.
That note she gave me was sometime in May or June, I think. When she said she fell, it was May or June or.
Chuck, I was watching the
Something
7
like
day
that.
for the best option.
So this has been, my father already told me he has double vision. He had a hearing aid. He couldn't hear anymore. His eyes were going. He couldn't drive.
Oh, I hope
My mother,
not.
I knew, was not using her turn signals properly.
Oh,
So they were losing their independence
Then get rid of her.
and even awareness of
Get rid of her
the
then.
world because of
She can't use her turn signals.
breakdown.
Get rid of her.
Most people, I think I'm safe in saying, would not take their parents' life because they couldn't use their turn signals properly.
By the way, that's Greg Floyd. So
That's
Right,
a short
that's
right,
right.
there,
Good
Todd.
point.
Yeah.
But again, it's not just that. It's one marker of decline.
oh, then I'm out because
And,
I didn't
Well,
get
that's-
turn signals yesterday.
That's most people in Arkansas.
Again, she had a brother and a sister who were going through Alzheimer's. By then, one died, and her brother was going to die. And maybe 2 years later, and he was in a terrible situation. So, and the other aunt of mine was I think even in an even worse situation because of Alzheimer's. But I never visited her because I I mean, women tend to want to be remembered for their beauty when they're young. So I didn't visit her for that reason, but I also never
abandoned her.
knew enough to visit where she was or anything like that.
But again, you feel like it was your role to, I mean, some might call it playing God, deciding on their lives. It was fair for you to do that?
So if the decision is going to be made, it's going to be a playing God decision. And truly, we lived through this COVID thing. Cuomo is, there's probable cause to arrest Andrew Cuomo for thousands of deaths because it's on the record that he sent people into nursing homes for a certain reason, and there was a report that people died as a consequence. That's probable cause. But
Andrew Cuomo did not put his hand around someone's neck. Andrew Cuomo did not put a rope around someone's neck.
That he would be culpable of criminally negligent homicide.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So what are you guilty of? Are you guilty of murder?
You could say age-related homicide or something like that.
What?
But it's not in the law. But it should be.
AIDS-related homicide?
And maybe it will be.
Age.
And maybe
if
it's accepted at some point, because there's 40 million people, they'll want it to be accepted. This will blow over. I'm willing to make restitution to the family. That's why I mentioned that other type of legal system.
Lawrence, this is not going to blow over.
I know.
You killed your parents.
There is that situation, but to me, it's not very important. Politics is subject to change. Everything is negotiable. Donald Trump has proven that everything is negotiable in this country.
Oh my God.
And if you have a good idea and you can help people, you can get a better outcome.
Did you ever kill anyone else?
No way.
Did you ever commit physical harm to anyone else?
No.
This was it. It was your mother and your father. No one else in your family ever suffered at your hand?
Oh, no.
Just wanted to check.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Lord, can I ask you a question? One of the neighbors told us on the scene, your parents were under the impression that you were going to take them on a trip. Did you tell them that you were going to take them on a trip before?
No, but I asked my mother if she wanted to go with me for a ride to Grafton Park. We'd like to go there.
I think they told people that they were possibly moving to Germany.
That's what I said.
You said that?
Yeah.
You said that to people, not your parents.
Right.
So that was your...
People ask me, where are my parents? I tell them, because my mother's from Germany, and my father was born in Yugoslavia. And then after they could escape communism, they went to Germany. And then my father came to this country.
Jesus Christ.
And then my mother in the 50s.
But there were neighbors who said that they had been told by your parents, oh, we think we're going to move to Germany. Are they mistaken? Are the neighbors remembering that incorrectly? Or could your parents have said that?
They could have said that.
Could they have known something was coming?
Possibly.
You ever give them the impression that maybe you would just move them somewhere?
No.
No, okay.
No. That's news to me, to you.
Okay. I think we're done.
Okay.
Thank you, Lawrence.
I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you. You can make that all available on YouTube, even on a private website for me, so I can have it
trust me, it will be available.
I'll be happy.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
So this guy,
that's undiagnosed mental illness running wild.
Yes, he's got articles out there about. I'm reading some of this about Cuomo. He's really got a bug up his butt about Andrew Cuomo, and he's written several articles about it.
Where are they published?
They are published on I opened it up. Now I'm concerned I've got a virus, so don't go there. RenegadeTribune.com. And there's a whole bunch of Hitler things. There's looks like he might be an anti-Semite, just off first glance. Just first glance. I didn't dive into it.
Yeah. It's
so generally an all-around good guy is what you're saying.
Yeah, you would not want to swipe on this guy.
So his parents escaped communism, and then they fell at the hands of their mutant son that did this. I saw an interesting comment. Somebody said it's probably what Kohberger would sound like with his excuses.
Good point.
And you're probably right, because he's all over the board, and he's justifying everything with these little nuggets here and there that don't really fill in the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
But in his mind, they do, and everyone should just accept them as fact. And if you don't, well, then you're crazy, because he said it, and that's what it is. He has a justification for everything. He didn't visit his ailing aunt because women don't want to be they want to be remembered for their beauty. So he just basically is like, well, she can die over there.
She's got a couple age spots. Chuck that bitch out the door.
It's just quick to discard. Very quick to discard.
Can you imagine what he'd do if he had a dog that had a cold?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I can't imagine. I don't want to know what his history with pets are.
I don't want to know what else is in the backyard.
No kidding.
I wonder if they did any investigation on that. But the fact that he literally said my mother wasn't using her turn signal, it's like, come on.
He's looking for anything he can to justify what he did since 2017, and he's got a list in his mind.
But he's had plenty of time to think about it. Holy crap.
Because he doesn't have one solid answer for this. He's created a cumulative list that he believes all these little things added up equal justification for what he did.
And so again, this just hit me. They were killed in 2017, but he's referencing COVID. That was 2020. He did this 3 years before COVID. So what correlation is there at all?
He's trying to, I think he's trying to say that if Cuomo is not responsible and held accountable for deaths with COVID, then he shouldn't be held accountable for the deaths of his parents. That's what I took from it.
I get that. That's what he's trying to say, I think. It's like, I know you are, but what am I?
Yep.
Wow. This is a very, very sick man. But Tony, to your point about the state hospitals, I'm not sure that prison is the best place for somebody like this.
No,
this
he's mentally ill. This is a mentally ill human being.
Yes.
There is, and he probably has been his whole life.
Well, and especially referencing something that happened when he was 16.
Yeah.
He's been traumatized from a very early age.
Yeah.
And probably didn't get help.
This is probably a mental illness that's in him, and then add trauma on top of it, and this is what you get.
Yeah.
And there's apparently, obviously, no one in his life close enough to him that was able to get him help but what do you do? What do you do with someone like this? Unless you have the money to go put him in a hospital, nothing's going to happen. I mean, there's nothing you can do. He would end up, if he didn't take the money from his parents, he'd probably end up homeless.
Yeah.
Which
I can't imagine he held down a job.
No, I can't imagine he'd be capable of holding down a job. This is not a person who's capable of doing that. This is one of those where this is a sick individual. I won't say evil. I'd say sick. There's something mentally wrong with him. He believes what he did was right. This is like, it's not Lori Vallow-ish, but it is in the level of he genuinely believes that he did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, I mean, if it weren't, his parents weren't old, I don't think he'd be out trying to kill people. I don't think he is a person that's out trying to, but in his mind, once he thinks you're checking the box of this person is, I don't want them to suffer, he thinks he's doing the right thing.
He was obsessed with alternative currencies and cryptocurrencies. He graduated from college in 94, received an MBA, if this is correct, if all of these things that I just found, and he has a LinkedIn as a co-founder of Pinda Technology Incorporated in Troy, New York, and a valedictorian.
According to who? Him?
That's the second time I've seen valedictorian.
He could be very intelligent, but that doesn't mean he's going to be socially intelligent by any means.
Well, and if you've got mental illness, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, everything gets skewed.
Yeah, his life is a cognitive distortion. Everything is. Wow.
You know, think if somebody like this, let's just say he was traumatized at an early age, if he had received the care that he needed, somebody that's this smart could do amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he doesn't see himself as evil. He goes to sleep at night thinking he did the right things. This is somebody who could have done some good in the world.
Yeah, there's no punishing him that's going to do any good.
No.
He is someone who needs to be in a mental health care facility and never let out.
And he was running for president in 2020, from what I just saw.
So he's with it. He's again, this is why I feel like if we could redo the idea of state mental hospitals in a humane, responsible manner, people like this need to go there.
Yeah.
Because they're not okay. They're not safe in society, clearly. And who knows? I mean, had it not been for the money, who's the next person he was going to deem that should be gone?
Yeah.
You know,
the
that
neighbor he saw going to the grocery store, and that bitch didn't use the turn signal. It was her time to go.
Hey, Mrs. Krebs, I saw you didn't do the turn signal. Can I help you with your groceries? And then before you know it, you know, there's fucking fishing line around her neck.
Oh no, he prefers rope, Tony. He's got plenty of rope. He had to buy that at the Home Depot.
I don't know. He seems versatile. He did the hand with the dad. He did rope with the mom. I could see him doing some really high grade fishing line at some point and going, it's a little messy. That cuts.
I also heard he likes variety, so he'd be using different methods, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. God. Well,
That's
there you
just
go.
so scary. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how messed up that whole thing was. The whole thing.
It was very unsettling.
That interview was unbelievable.
They walk amongst us.
God,
I've been saying it all along. That's why I have weapons in my home everywhere.
It's making more sense why Stacy has a knife in every room.
Yeah.
Like, just in case.
Just in case. And I'm not shitting you. I don't think I used a turn signal yesterday. So maybe we need to talk after the show.
Oh, we will. We will.
Well, if you don't see Stacy anymore,
Yeah.
it's either Todd's backyard or mine. Bring a shovel.
Well, we have to make sure that it's a little bit colder out. It's
Yes.
80 degrees today.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's like 70 degrees here today, so I'm safe.
Yeah. We got to wait for a chilly day, and then it'll be justified.
Good for a few more weeks.
Oh, my God. Tell us what your thoughts are in the comment section on this guy on YouTube. If you're not already there, search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Be sure to press subscribe, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on, so you don't miss any of the craziness that we're watching for you every single day right here at the Hidden Killers podcast. I should make a note. There is a new documentary that is out as of today, as of recording, 9/29 of 25. The Ellen Greenberg documentary on Hulu is now available. And I know I sent you guys a message earlier saying, let's all watch this. What is it called? Hulu. Because there's what is it called? Death in Apartment 603. What happened to Ellen Greenberg? It's a 3-parter. It's going to be interesting. Episode 1 is called Homicide or Suicide. Episode 2, The Strangest 911 Call I've Ever Heard. And then the Greenbergs versus the city of Philadelphia, I believe. There hasn't really been a lot of big docs on this. Nancy Grace has a book that's coming out on it, too. So I hope some light is finally shed on this case, and maybe something actually happens with some pressure being put on it. Because if you've watched that case at all, you know just how bizarre it is. So we're going to watch that, and then I think on Wednesday we'll talk about it in greater detail. So if you'd like to watch along with us, then you'll know what we're talking about coming up on Wednesday. That's available on Hulu right now. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Until next time, for Stacy and Todd, I'm Tony Bruschi. We will talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.